Nothing great was ever born without it. Desire is the match that lights the torch of creation. Before the painter lifts his brush, before the inventor turns a wheel, before the leader speaks his first word, there must come a moment when he feels deeply and unquestionably that he must. That feeling is the call of destiny. The man who learns to honor that call, to guard it, and to nurture it with daily thought, begins his journey toward mastery. But the man who dismisses it, who lets it fade under the noise of doubt, lives the rest of his life as a servant to circumstance. Desire must be definite. It cannot be vague or timid. The mind responds to precision. When you say, I wish to be successful, the subconscious hears only a blur. But when you declare, I will create wealth through this idea, within this time, for this reason, the mind begins to organize itself toward that end. The difference between a wish and a burning desire is the difference between a flicker and a flame. The flicker dies with the wind. The flame grows stronger with resistance. And so the first duty of every man who seeks to rise is to define his desire, to hold it, feel it, and repeat it until it takes form within his imagination. It is through this repetition that the next great force of achievement awakens. Autosuggestion is the channel through which desire travels from the conscious mind to the subconscious. It is the gentle, persistent voice that speaks to your deeper self until it believes. Every thought you dwell upon, every image, every emotion, every word you repeat with conviction impresses itself upon the hidden workshop of the mind. There, unseen forces begin their labor. They arrange ideas, attract opportunities, and awaken strength you did not know you possessed. You may not see this process with your physical eyes, yet it is as certain as the law of gravity. Thoughts, when emotionalized and repeated, become commands. The subconscious mind, faithful and unreasoning, accepts those commands as truth and works tirelessly to make them real. When the mind believes a thing, it begins to act as though that thing were already achieved. The body follows, decisions align, and life itself seems to bend toward fulfillment. This is why idle thoughts are dangerous. Every day your mind is either programming success or programming limitation. Every phrase you speak, every emotion you allow to linger feeds the soil of your destiny. If you tell yourself, I am not capable, your subconscious agrees and begins arranging proof. If you declare, I can and I will, it will likewise find evidence to make it so. The wise understand this, and so they guard their thoughts as a king guards his treasure. They know that belief is not a gift, but a construction built through repetition, imagination, and emotion. Faith, then, is not born in a moment. It is cultivated through daily suggestion, through the consistent charging of desire with feeling and vision. And once faith is born, the impossible becomes routine. The proof of faith, the Ford example. Let us consider the story of Henry Ford, a man whose faith in his own vision transformed the modern world. In the early days of his work, Ford was not the titan of industry we remember. He was a young mechanic with more dreams than resources, more failures than victories. He was told again and again that his idea of a motor car for the masses was folly, that only the wealthy would ever own automobiles. But Ford possessed something his critics did not: belief, born of autosuggestion. Each night he would imagine the machines he wished to build, not as crude sketches, but as living realities. He saw himself driving them down dirt roads, watched farmers and merchants using them, heard the rhythm of their engines in his mind. To him they already existed. That vision, fed daily by repetition and desire, became faith. It was faith so strong that ridicule could not shake it. When his first engines failed, he rebuilt them. When investors withdrew, he found new ones. When his first two companies collapsed, he founded a third, the one that would bear his name. Every setback was met not with despair, but with a silent affirmation: I will build a car for the great multitude. He did not say, I hope. He did not say, I'll try. He declared it, and in doing so, instructed his subconscious to find the means. The result was the Model T, a machine so transformative that it changed the very shape of civilization. But the car itself was not his greatest creation. His true invention was faith, faith forged by persistent suggestion until thought became fact. Through Ford, we see the eternal law. The mind that believes acts. The man who repeats his vision with feeling and persistence soon finds life, arranging itself to mirror that vision. Chapter 3, The Birth of Faith. Faith is the mind's highest state of vibration. It is the bridge between the unseen and the seen, the power that turns thought into fact. Every man, whether he knows it or not, is constantly exercising faith. When you rise in the morning, you have faith that the day will unfold. When you plant a seed, you have faith that the soil will nurture it. And when you hold a definite desire and repeat it until you feel it, you awaken faith in its purest form, the faith that creates. But faith does not appear by accident. It is built. The mind must be trained to believe. It must be spoken to, fed with images, and charged with emotion until the belief becomes part of your very being. There are two kinds of belief. One is shallow, born of convenience. fading with the first wind of doubt. The other is deep, born of repetition and emotional certainty. The shallow belief says, I hope this will happen. The deep belief says, it already has. Each affirmation, spoken aloud or in thought, strengthens the bridge between the conscious and the subconscious. Each time you repeat your desire, not mechanically, but with conviction, you etch it deeper into the foundation of your being. Faith is not a product of reason. It is a state of knowing without seeing. It is the same faith that guided Edison when the light bulb existed only in his mind. The same faith that guided Ford when the first engine was still a heap of failed experiments. These men were not guessing. They were knowing. They had impressed their subconscious mind so thoroughly with their desires that failure had become impossible to believe. When faith is complete, doubt becomes foreign. You no longer chase success. You expect it. You no longer look for proof. You carry proof within. It is then that unseen forces begin to work on your behalf. Ideas come seemingly from nowhere. Circumstances align in your favor. People appear. Opportunities open, and obstacles dissolve, as though guided by invisible hands. This is not magic. It is law. The mind, once convinced, acts as a magnet for all that harmonizes with its belief. Thus, the true measure of a person's faith is not in his words, but in his calm assurance. When you know a thing is yours, you need not chase it. You prepare for it. You act toward it, and you rest in the certainty of its arrival. This is the quiet power of faith, the same power that has shaped every empire, discovered every invention, and healed every wound of the human spirit. Forto, the mind at work. Once belief is established, the mind begins its invisible labor. It moves ideas from the realm of imagination into the world of form. It draws to itself whatever is necessary for the completion of the thought impressed upon it. You may call this coincidence. You may call it intuition. But the wise know it by its true name, the response of infinite intelligence to definite belief. Every invention, every triumph, every work of genius is but a physical echo of the thoughts that created it. The subconscious mind is your silent servant. It does not reason. It does not question. It simply acts upon what it is given. Feed it fear, and it will construct reasons to confirm your fear. Feed it faith, and it will marshal the universe to affirm your success. Thus, man's greatest responsibility is to choose his thoughts with care. Let no idle word leave your lips. Let no discouraging picture linger in your imagination. Each moment of fear, each thought of limitation weakens the vibration of your desire. But each moment of confidence, each reaffirmation of purpose strengthens it. As you continue in this discipline, your external life begins to take shape in the likeness of your internal pattern. The world becomes the mirror of your dominant thought. A man cannot think failure and attract success. He cannot dwell upon lack and receive abundance. He cannot hold envy and experience peace. The law is simple, as within, so without. What you impress upon the inner world must express itself in the outer. Faith, therefore, is the architect of circumstance. Autosuggestion is the builder, and desire is the raw material. Together they form the trinity of creation. Desire gives the pattern. Autosuggestion engraves it upon the mind. Faith transforms it into power. When this trinity is united and sustained with persistence, there can be no permanent failure. When you believe a thing possible, you begin to act differently. You speak with more certainty. You persist longer. You notice opportunities others overlook. This is the subconscious mind guiding you through intuition. When you disbelieve, your energy collapses, your attention narrows, and opportunity passes you by. The mind that believes is open. The mind that doubts is blind. Therefore, your greatest task is not to chase success, but to train belief, to hold thought so firmly, so vividly, that your entire being vibrates with its certainty. In this state, faith ceases to be a word. It becomes a force, and through that force, the unseen begins to obey. A living example, the Wright brothers. Let us turn to another proof of this eternal law. In the early years of the 20th century, man had dreamed of flight for centuries. The very idea of leaving the ground was ridiculed by scholars and scientists alike. Yet two brothers, bicycle mechanics from Dayton, Ohio, held a different belief. Orville and Wilbur Wright had no great fortune, no formal training, and no powerful friends. What they did have was faith. Faith born from vision, nurtured by repetition, and anchored in autosuggestion. They told themselves daily, man can and will fly. They imagined it, studied it, and built crude models to mirror it. Each failure became proof of progress. Each setback was met not with despair, but with renewed conviction. Others laughed. Newspapers mocked. Experts dismissed them as dreamers, but their subconscious minds had already accepted flight as fact. They could see it, feel it, live it, long before the world saw wings in motion. Then, on a cold morning in December of 1903, their faith took form. The first manned flight lifted gently from the sands of Kitty Hawk, rising into history. That short flight of 12 seconds was not powered by mere mechanics. It was lifted by belief. Belief constructed through persistent autosuggestion and sustained by unwavering desire. The Wright brothers proved not only that man could fly, but that faith itself is a creative principle. Closing passage. Faith is the mind's permission slip to the universe, a declaration that says, I am ready. When you believe, you no longer strain or grasp, you allow. You no longer wait for signs, you create them. You no longer hope, you know.
The same law that carried Ford to fortune, Edison to light, and the rights to the sky still operates in every human mind today. It asks only that you believe in your desire as completely as they did. For when belief becomes your natural state, when the thought of success is as certain as the rising sun, then the unseen begins its eternal work, and life itself obeys your command.